This is technique training. So this is the pro tips that I'm going to be giving you on this week's Monday Moves Corrective Strategies. I'm Marian Barnick, a registered kinesiologist and movement therapist, and I'm here to help you with pro tips and techniques that you can use to guide you through the corrective strategies that I'm showing you every week on Monday Moves with Marian. And I want to talk to you this week about the Monday Moves because it looked really easy. I know it did. All we were doing is standing in a split stance. But this is my pro tip number one to you. If it looks easy, it's not. You know, we watch the Olympics, we see the basketball players, we see the gymnasts, and we're like, yeah, that kind of looks hard. I don't think we realize how hard it is until we actually try to do these techniques properly. So that's what I want you to do. This is what's so important. If you are doing exercise classes, if you've decided you're going to do a yoga routine or you're doing some sort of cardio class, please, 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 as the 25 years of experience here and seeing patients come to me after, your technique is key because what you do is what you teach your body. When you move, when you think about how you're moving, it becomes automatic. Like, I don't think about my hand moving right now. I mean, it just happens. This is how I talk. But if you're reaching into the cupboard for your coffee cup, or you go to reach for your seatbelt, or you are opening the fridge, or putting on your shoes, you don't think about where your fingers are going, where your hands are going, how you bend to do that, what you're doing. It's automated, and those are your neural pathways. You can train your neural pathways. This is so important because everything you do right integrates a beautiful highway, those neural pathways to those muscles to teach them what to do properly. That's why the training and how you do it is so important. But when we do things the wrong way or we do things the easy way, and sometimes we have to because of injuries, because of issues, because of surgeries, because of recuperation, the body just needs to get things done and we just need to function. But that's where when you're doing the classes and you're reaching overhead, and I see the online, even for cancer patients, I see it online, and they're reaching up overhead like this, and they're saying, stretch that out, and I'm thinking, okay, are we looking at the fingers and the wrists and the elbows? If it's just for cardio, that's great. But every time you do this, and every time you, I'll go from the side, arch your back, you're teaching your body that your shoulders don't have to move because your back's got you covered. So that's my little rant on the technique. So that's what we're looking at today. So I'm going to step back a little bit. And the first thing I want you to do is the split stance. So let's break down the split stance. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Why is this important? It's how we move. We move bipedally, 1 foot in front of the other. So if you can stand in a split stance and have a nice neutral posture, that is so important for almost everything that we're doing where we're moving. Now, what's going on with this exercise this week with my mobility exercise and this strategy is balancing not only left and right, but it's balancing in the rotation as well. So you're going to really check on the rotation, and it's going to talk to you about how your sides are even. So as you probably know, if you've seen any of my videos, I'm recovering from a car accident last year. My left side was affected, and that includes everything, including my core muscles, my lower abdominal muscles that just aren't firing properly, posterior muscles that aren't firing properly. So I compensate, and I'm aware of it. So I can see, even when I look back at Monday Moves this week, I can see those changes in postures. I'm like, oh gosh, okay, I know what I have to work on. So I'm going to show you that. If I have my feet lined up, so let's look at this position, heel toe. That's the most important. And if you think you've got heel toe properly, do it along a straight line. So I'm going to show you, if I do this on my mat, if I do it beside the mat, if I do it along your hardwood or something that's straight, you'll see where those lines are. So look to see where those heel toe positions are, and then look to bring that belly button forward. Now that may feel a little tight, a little strange, maybe on the side that's back, a little tightness here in the hip flexor. That's awesome. Then we know that we're working on something we need to work on. But here we go with the pro tips. I want you to check if your hips are aligned up and down now. So we're aligning this way. We're aligning straight, let's say north-south. We're forward and back. Now we're going to look at side to side, because what can happen here is I can lean over this way and say, yeah, my feet are actually absolutely fine. But if you can see, I've got this hip out here. So I'm compensating and thinking I'm fine. So I want you to check those shoulders as well, because that's going to be a nice key point to keeping yourself aligned. And you'll feel maybe the stretch is up through the side. You may feel the back wanting to arch a little bit to change that. This is what we're focusing on, is getting that neutral posture and getting those muscles aligned. The other thing you're going to see is whether or not you're rotated. Now for me, with this left side not working well, that's why I put it behind today, so you can see, chances are I'm going to just rotate. This is going to drop down, and you can see this hip wants to come behind me. This would be way more comfortable for me. And as you can see, that shoulder's behind. The other thing you can see is where the knee starts to come in. So look at those. Stand in front of a mirror if you can, and just look at alignment. Don't even do the exercise. Just look for your alignment. Shoulders are even, hips are even, belly button is forward, and then bend that knee in the back and just see if that's coming forward or not. If it's coming to the inside, you know that you've got a tendency to want to drop and rotate. That's going to be key, because when you walk, you're going to do the same thing. It's just our natural tendency of where our body's strong, where our body's weak, where our body's tight. This is what we're looking at. And if that knee wants to drop in and that hip wants to help, those tight hip flexors, don't even get me started on that. But if that knee drops in, it's telling you your body doesn't want to be in alignment. You need to work on this a little bit more. So when we're in this position, feet are even, knees are forward, belly button forward, shoulders are even. Breathe in this position just for a moment. Let your body be aware of where it's at. Let the input, the proprioception from the feet all the way up, teach your body that it wants to be in this position. So this is our hold. This is our starting position, the foundation to this movement. If we can't get in this position, I don't want you to go any further, okay? I want you to just hold here. I don't want that heel coming off the back if you can't hold this neutral position. So as you can see, I've got a little shifting going on. I may not be 100% balanced. I want to hold here and just feel what this is like. Let the body get used to it. And then you can switch to the other side as well and see, is this easier? Can you get those feet aligned? Can you get the belly button and the hips? Are you shifting a little bit? Just hold your split stance. Now, I know some of you have asked about how wide that should be, how narrow it should be, how close the feet should be. Again, when we talked about our balance a couple weeks ago, the closer your feet are together, the more shallow your base of support is. If you think of, I go back to sports, of course, a running back. You got that running back that you can't knock down in football. He's got that wide base of support, right? You're way more steady in this position. So the closer your feet are, the easier you can be to be knocked off balance. So a little wider, if you've got balance issues, is fine. But I don't want it so wide that it's pulling you out of alignment with your body, that center of gravity in the front. Same thing with your stance in front. I don't want it so wide that you're going to, and I'll show you from the side, if you're taking a wider stance and you're bending at the hips, I don't want that stance. I don't want that bent hip. I want, when that stance happens, is that you have a neutral posture, that you're looking at it in this position, align everything up, and you can still keep that neutral posture. That's what I'm looking for. So if that stance is too wide and you're starting to bend and you don't have ear, shoulder, hip, and you can see, if I'm coming forward like this, my hip no longer is part of my neutral equation. So that's what I want you to look at.